Welcome to episode number 4 of the Two Broke Photographers podcast. I'm Heather, and we have Fort with us as well. Today, we are going to be discussing client communication, how to set expectations, and also how to avoid disasters. So the key topics that we are going to touch on today is how to talk to clients before, during, and after your shoots, how to set boundaries for timelines, deliverables, contracts, however you decide to run your business. And then last but not least, how to avoid common client problems like no-shows or missed emails or clients showing up 40 minutes late to a session, etc. Because we definitely learned the hard way, especially in the beginning, and we want to help you. We want to help. We want to make sure that you can skip all of those hard parts. Why is all this important? Well, communication is key. It's key to building trust with your clients, also for your professional relationships. And this episode, so we're going to share both practical tips and some funny stories from our experience with clients, especially starting out. I know you have some good stories, don't you, Fortme? Sometimes people start before you're ready. I get it. Yeah. When you're still snacking and trying to get there. So let's start off. How do we talk to clients before, during, and after your shoot? So what's the first key point, touch point for you with your clients? Also, are you ready for this or should we pause? Okay.
So, key points. Well, look, it just depends where you are at in your career. So, obviously, for me, I'm at the point where people are reaching out to me, which I guess if you upload a model call, they'll be reaching out to you either way. So, it starts with them reaching out to you. In some cases, if you're really a hustler, I've known photographers that message people that are pregnant and be like, hey, have you booked a shoot? What do you think of booking with me? And they sell themselves. I've never been that person. I will do that in the public. If I see a pregnant woman and I'm having a chat with her, I'll just get my card out of my pocket and be like, hey, have you seen my work? Or Instagram's the best. I'll just get like the scan code on the Instagram and you should follow my work if you're pregnant, and I firstly usually just talk to them.
What if you went up to someone like that, but they weren't pregnant?
No. They're about
That's like my worst fear.
People do it to me all the time now because I have a little gut left over from the 4th child, and people always assume I'm pregnant. I had someone, who was it? Someone said to me in Arabic, and he's like, boy or girl, and I'm like, what is he talking about, boy or girl? And I was with my daughter, and I thought he meant like, is she a boy or a girl? And I responded, girl, and then he said congratulations, and that's when it hit me. I'm like, oh my god, he's asking if I'm having a boy or a girl. I'm like,
oh
wow.
My God. I wouldn't eat for a week. I would, yeah.
Oh, I cracked
it
up.
Would be bad.
Hey, there's always there was always some left over after you give birth. So I'm like, whatever. But it's funny. I've had that happen a few times. So actually, let me go back to a time someone was right though, and I thought it was really ballsy. So I was thin before my first child, like very thin. And I was only like 2-3 months along. So with your first child, you don't show at 2 to 3 months. And I did not show. And this is back when I was a teacher. The janitor looked at me and he goes, Miss. I'm like, yeah. Are you expecting? And all I could think, and I was like, in my brain, I was so shocked that he got it. And I hadn't told anyone in the school. And I thought I'm like, do I tease him and say, no, how dare you? But I'm like, that he was such a nice guy, I couldn't do it to him. But all I can think now, I was very thin. It would have looked like I ate an M&M. Like, how did he get it? And I said to him, I go, how did he know? And he said to me, well, my daughter is pregnant. She's carrying the same way. I'm like, okay, no, fair enough. Like, he knew the body type, but I was like shocked that he had the guts to say it, right? Because what if he was wrong? What if I just ate a burrito that day?
That's my worst fear. I can't do it.
No, so I won't go and sell myself unless someone's very pregnant. And yeah, if you don't know if someone's very pregnant, don't go up to them.
Even then, I'm scared. They could be 10 months and like
Nah,
popping, and I would still be too scared.
I'll see them holding the gut in the way and holding their back, and they're sitting at the shopping center, and they're like, and I know the look, and I'll
No.
just, I'll be in the same play area with my kids, so I'll just talk to them. But yeah, I don't push it. I definitely don't oversell myself. So your first point of contact with your client base usually is them wanting you, hopefully. If you're selling to them, just be mindful of how aggressive you are. Don't be aggressive. Don't be in their face. Don't be bothersome. If someone doesn't want to book you, just let it go. But yeah, I'll have clients reach out to me. So the first point of contact, I don't limit how they contact me. So I have Instagram. I get a lot of Instagram inboxes. And a lot of my bookings, I think 60% come from my inbox in Instagram. And of course, you need to have a website. I have a website that funnels people through there. My Google isn't that great right now. I know I need to work on it. That's another thing for another day. My SEO needs work. But make sure you funnel everyone through your website no matter what. So basically,
Yeah.
people will come to me and say, "Hey, I'm really interested in this kind of booking. What's your prices, your packages, whatever?" I always send them a link to my website. The reason I don't have a PDF of my pricing, there's two reasons behind this. One, if you have a PDF, they send that to every uncle, cousin, and sister-in-law in town. And for the next 5 years, that's the expected price that you should meet. And it's in a PDF, so you can't edit that. Make your pricing an invisible link, and we'll do this another day, an invisible link on your website, because it also drives up your SEO when they spend time on your website. So I send them a link to my website where my pricing and packaging is, and they sit there reading my packages. So they're on that website for a long time. That is building my SEO up. So they're on my website, and I can edit it at any time. I've had times where someone inquired about, say an event photo shoot, and I don't want to do events anymore. So I go in there and double the price before I send the link, because I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to do it. I know I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. If it is hidden on the website, you can adjust it. So make sure you do that. That's highly recommended. And yeah, that's my point of contact. The next step that I have is once they go and look at that pricing and packaging, I'll get a lot of ghosting, right? That's normal. People will leave. They'll be gone. Bye-bye. You can choose to follow those people up. At the beginning, I used to do that, and that was another point of communication that sometimes, I'm not saying every time, but you might get like another 10% from those follow-ups. I don't do it anymore because I don't have the time, but it did pay the bills sometimes to get those follow-ups when things were not doing so well. I was like, oh, I need another booking. I would just send follow-up to all the people that ghosted me. And you'd be surprised. Sometimes they forgot to reply and they're embarrassed. And so it's just keep that communication open, that they're not afraid to talk to you. Anyway, so anyone that wants to move forward, they've seen your pricing. I try not to send them just my pricing straight away. I try and send them into my website and my CRM through my contact form. Sometimes I might just say, if you want my pricing or a booking, fill this out, which is my contact form, and it'll go straight to your email. And so I have that all automated. So they fill out their contact form and they'll get the pricing straight to their email. Some people don't like that. Some people will not fill it out and they'll just ghost you because you've put a block between that pricing. And, you might not care because, those are probably not your clientele anyway. But sometimes I just send them directly the pricing. It depends on my mood, to be honest. I used to be very strict where you had to fill out my contact form. These days I'm a bit tired, so I'll just be like, oh, here's the pricing link. Go ahead. Go ghost me. And if they don't ghost, they usually reply straight away. They'll open it up. If they don't reply straight away, don't get your hopes up. I know that's a weird thing. That's just been my experience. There's two types of clients. The instant reply, which is amazing. What date do you have? And then there's the second one that will disappear and about 4 days later will message you to go ahead. But anywhere in between, I've never had success. So I just give up. It's mostly the instant repliers are in your price range because they opened it up, they saw your pricing, they'll instantly reply. So when you get that instant reply, make sure you have a website that has a contact form that is gathering their email and their phone number, because you need a way to contact them in case you do go through with the booking. In case you do, you need all that stuff, and you need somewhere to send your contract. You need an email. Once they say yes, always gonna, yeah, and the easiest way is to get a contact form on your website. So I send them over the contact form. So every single person that books with me has to fill out my contact form. There is no way around it. And I will tell them, unfortunately, I can't get you booked in via my automated system until you fill out that contact form. Because a lot of people will be like, oh, I don't want to do it. Like, oh, it's boring. And then you
Well,
just
I
put
feel
that.
like if the contact form is short, succinct, to the point, like this should be a minimal barrier to entry for your clients. If it's minimal and they still can't fill that out, then this is a red flag, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
that's
Like
that's true.
it's basic information.
Yeah, I got 5 points. I've got name, number, email. How did you find me? I really like to know that. That's really important to me. And a message box of like, what do you want to do? That's it. Everything else goes like if I get an address to post to them, that's in my questionnaire. I just say, what's your address for future mailing? Because that won't scare them. If you put an address before they've even booked you, that's a red flag on your end. They're not going to trust you. Like, who is this person asking me for my address? So keep it simple. Now, I used to do this manually when I couldn't afford it, when I was at the beginning. Look up what a CRM is, that's important. If you can afford it, look, CRMs are like, I think $350 to $500, but they're great money spent. But they also take a lot of work to get set up. You can pay someone to do it. I paid someone to start my CRM up and get it all organized for me. It gets you that foundation, then you can just fix it. But if you got the time, do it yourself. And it's a yearly cost to run the website. But for me, it's got my contract, my questionnaires, it's got all the data of my clients, it's tracking my pay, my invoices. It's all there in one place. It's got follow-up buttons, it's got automations. It's really helpful. I used to do this all by myself, and if I can give you some free websites, Jotform's great and it's free. You get 3 forms, I think. And I used to have 1 was my contract and 4 were my packages. And I had them sign a contract for each package I had that was a bit of a variation. And that was the way I kept it. I just got when they wanted to book it on Instagram, Facebook, wherever, I just got their email. I filled it in the Jot form. I sent it to their email and I said, hey, check your email. You've got a contract. But I always had a contract, even for model calls. And I know there's some bigger giants in the industry that say, oh, it doesn't matter because you've got the text back and forth that is your evidence if something goes wrong. Yes and no. You have evidence that you had a session for, say, if they do a chargeback on your account, there is evidence there, but your contract covers so much more. And I know Heather will go in on this. Heather, what's your contract cover?
Oh my gosh, I have so much to contribute here. My contract covers everything, literally everything. It has basic information of where the shoot is going to be, when and where, and who this is for. It also has rescheduling policy. So I have policies in there, refund policies, retainer policy. What else do I have?
It's basically
My
your
policy,
protection.
yes, it's definitely there for your protection. It also, for me, I have a mix. So it's a legal contract. I have things that they have to sign off, like initial every line. And then I also have some of my policies in there. So it says, for example, um, because I do IPS, which is in person sales, it says that final selections have to be made on that day, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
I also have, which is very important inside my contract, is usage rights. So they know how they can use. How they can use the photos and how they can't. And then I also have, I do touch on copyright on that so that they understand that the photos can't be altered, that I own the copyright, etc. It also gives them a print release. Inside my contract as well is the model release. So this is also very important. You need to have that. They need to give you permission to actually photograph them as well as vice versa. So, yeah, those are definitely big points in my contracts. It's definitely going to vary from state to state, from province to province, from country to country. It's all going to be different.
Yeah. Check your copyright laws. Like even though look, there is some laws like for example, social media laws, like shooting in a public space, for example. You shoot a public event or you shoot a family in a park, technically they're in a public place. Do you need permission to take their photo and upload it online? No, you don't. Not in Australia, that is. Now, it's still a point of respect and it's still a point that you need to cover your ass from, the abuse you might get from doing that and disregarding or whatever. So for me, a very big line in my contract is if you don't want to be on social media, you need to tell me at the session at least or before. for the reason that I don't want to go and upload your photo and then you shame me. I don't want to, it's too late, it's out there, and then there's an issue. So contracts are great because you can point out these things that you really want to cover for your protection um, early on. And that's why that I think the biggest main communication between you and the client should be the contract, even though they don't read it half the time. But for me, I go in and I have my contract broken up into 10 points. I try not to make it too long. I don't want anyone to make an excuse like I couldn't read it because it's so long.
I feel like contracts soon are going to be turning into like terms and conditions where you just check the box at some point because there's so many things.
Mine is like you have no choice. There's no choice buttons. It's like, yeah, you say yes or don't book me. And I know that might seem hard, but I'm protecting myself.
I think it's like you said, because if you go through this contract with your client in the beginning, whether if they don't want you to post photos and they see that they're giving you permission in the contract to post photos, they're going to bring it up to you before the session has ever even started. Hey, this is a problem for me. Let's figure this out, right? So you're addressing all of their needs and concerns and you're communicating about it before the session ever takes place. And I think that's key.
And put the most important thing right above where they sign, because that's the last thing they'll actually read. So I put the social media one right above that so they can't say, oh, I missed it. And it's in bold. Now, what I do is like I said, I only have 10 points in my whole thing. But within those 10 paragraphs, I've gone and I've highlighted and bold the most important things. For example, anything that I'm going to charge them a fee is in bold. If I have a late fee, bold. If I have a gallery fee for admin, if they don't pick their photos, in bold. If I have any extra charges for images, in bold. Anything that's money related, it's in bold. And I find that important because when they skim it, their eyes beam on the bold. And then they'll go back and read that and they're like, okay, so if I'm late, I'm going to spend $50 per 15 minutes on it. If I don't pick my photos, that's a $100 admin fee. I don't want a shock when I send them that invoice of like, hey, you were 45 minutes late, that's $150. I don't want shock. You should have seen that. And if you didn't see it, that's your fault. If you couldn't at least read the bold points in my contract, trust me, they won't argue when they are cornered with the stupidity of their own choices. I've had that before where someone wanted to argue. I've had that where someone wanted to argue and I just pointed out like, oh, you missed this in bold in 5 places. And as well,
well, I do want to add to that having additional fees isn't something that anyone really wants to do. Any like legit photographer wants to do. But highlighting these issues up front in the contract sets the tone for the shoot and how they're going to respect you and your business decisions. So if you have that in your contract, they see that, then they're going to be less likely to cause a problem later on. And just because it's in there and they've signed off, it doesn't necessarily mean that you actually have to charge them. But hopefully, because they've seen that, they're going to communicate with you better, saying, oh my gosh, like this and this happened. We're going to be there, but we're definitely late, right? So at least you're not just sitting there waiting around. Like they understand that you mean business and they're going to respect you more. So I do want to put that in. Just because it's in there doesn't mean you actually have to charge them at the end of the day, but it helps set the tone for how you operate your business and it will demand some more respect.
And you know what? The longer contract that you see, the more experienced the photographer is. And the reason I say this is because the longer you've been in this business, you will add to your contract. Every time you get screwed over, you go and write in your contract. Every time someone messes you up, go to your contract. Everything I have in there is a true representation of what I've been through. Okay, all the trauma is in my contract. So if you're like, hey, why do you say do not get naked in the studio? It's because someone got naked I'm just saying we have to put these things in there because people do crazy things. So protect yourself. And if you think it's crazy or absurd and you're like, oh God, do I really need to write that in? Write it in. It comes from experience. You have to. It's unfortunate. Even just the simple, like, I know she does in-person sale, Heather, but I do online galleries, and it goes without saying, don't screenshot the gallery. Don't, do all that stuff. I have to put it in there, but I had it in there, don't screenshot the gallery because that's stealing. But I also had to add, if you're caught screenshotting the gallery, it's a $2,000 fee to pay out for every image because I found all of my images with do not screenshot on a Facebook page.
Yeah.
So
It's really bad. Assume that if it's, yeah, going up online, people are gonna, yeah, take your stuff.
yeah.
So you have to be careful with that and set your boundaries. So we've sat here and we've talked for quite a while about some of the communication points for clients before the session. I want to talk about some of the things that you can do when you do get pushback on your contract.
Look, I haven't got much pushback. I don't know about you. I haven't got much pushback. It's usually just education. So I think I had someone ask me to remove like the social media part because they wanted it in writing that I would not post on social media. So the wording on my contract is you give permission for your images to be posted, but if you do not feel comfortable, you must let me know. I don't need to remove that line because it very clearly says, just let me know. So this communication in our text messages is evidence you let me know. And trust me, I would never go and pretend I didn't see it. So you don't have to worry. I'm not going to, it's very hard to edit a contract. So I said to her, I'm not going to edit it because the verbiage is as long as you let me know. You can screenshot this message. This is your evidence that you let me know. I won't upload them, of course.
Addendum to a contract is, yeah, a process. So like you said, you have proof with the screenshot.
It's a point of trust. A lot of your communication with clients is reassuring them. So she just wanted that reassurance. I had one person.
Well, I will say too, don't guilt your clients just because they don't want to go into social media or, make them feel like they're a problem or that they owe you allowing them, you to post on social media. Like if it's a problem. So if this is a no-go for you, then just don't shoot with the client. I don't hear a lot of people talking about in this space is how do you actually respond to that? And I think it's very important that you make sure that they feel heard and seen and you stay positive. At least this is how I do it. And I say, absolutely, no problem. Some people, they don't care at all and they love their photos going online. And then other people want to remain more private. So I'll mark you as a private client. I'll fix that in the contract for you and I'll send you an email with the new link when it's ready. Like that's what I do.
I'll tell you how I recently stuffed that up. But like usually I do what Heather says and I just say, absolutely no problem. But this gallery was so cute and so nice. I didn't give pushback, but I said, I just in a smarty pantsy kind of cutesy way, I was like, any chance just the kids with a wink face. But she didn't come back playful. She came back quite firm, like, we don't feel comfortable. And she got very serious, so I pulled back straight away. And don't push. Although don't apologize if it's not like you make something more serious sometimes if you apologize. So for me, it was just like I pushed it a little bit and she didn't like it and I could tell. Read the messages clear. And I just straight away said, I totally understand, of course. I just felt they were so beautiful, but it's all good, no problem. So I made it clear, like, I don't have a problem. I'm not really upset. I was just pushing my luck. Haha. Thank you
I
so
just got
much. And that's,
excited because your babies
yeah,
are so cute.
exactly. Make it about, because it was. They were adorable. The photos were adorable. And the lighting was amazing. And I really want to shop. So it's just me being excited, but just make sure if you get a little bit of pushback or you see any pushback, don't push it at all. But again, be careful with the apologies are admission of wrong. Think about this. A lot of people say sorry to the littlest thing, but in the mind of the person, all they're thinking is you did something wrong. So I know to be a better person, apologize, but I'm just saying with business, be careful if you over apologize because you're going to look like the bad guy, even when it's a small thing. So for me, I pulled back with, I totally understand. Thank you so much for the shoot today. Shut it down and they had no problem. Her next message was, I've recommended you to everyone. So I saved that. You save that you save that relationship. It's never too late to save a relationship if you just pull back and pay attention to the interaction.
Wait, quick question. And I know this comes up a lot. So tell us what you do. What happens if a client signed your contract and says, yes, you can share my images on social in your portfolio, whatever, marketing materials. Then after seeing the gallery, they change their minds and they don't want their stuff online anymore. What would you say to them?
Well, you got to respect it. But for me, I'm a little bit different. I'm a special kind of person. I have a discount. I want people certain. I don't want to go through this stress, right? I have a discount for people that let me share because I don't believe our clients are our models. I believe anyone that's paying me, that's their photos. And if they want to put it in a chest and never be seen again, it's theirs. So I decided a long time ago, and mostly because I had I was only getting 10% of people allowing me to share. I decided a long time ago that I would give a $50 discount for anyone that allowed me to share. So they're getting a reward and you're getting something out of it. It's equal. And I hear this all the time where people are like, you don't need to do that anymore. You're well known enough that people want you to share their work, which I agree. But for now, I've kept it. I like to allow people to get a discount for giving me something. And so for me, it's a little bit harder what you're saying. If it's a normal situation where they've paid you normal money and that's it, say when they tell you I want it taken down, it sucks, but say I understand. And I hope in future, if you change your mind, you'll let me know because sometimes they do. Sometimes
Yeah.
when the kid's 10 years old and he doesn't look like a baby anymore, they say, "Hey, you can upload them. I really like them." He's No one will know what he looked like as a kid.
Or when couples get divorced, that's another good
Oh,
one.
yeah, I've had to go and wipe that off everywhere. It happens. So, yeah, just I'm so sorry. Let me get that off ASAP and just get it off. Get it off as soon as possible. But with regards to my thing, getting a discount, I do again my contract communication. It says very clearly, you receive a $50 discount for allowing social media sharing. If you change your mind, you will have to repay that discount. So they have to pay me $50 or I'm keeping it up. And the reason I do this is I didn't want people to take advantage of me and say, "Oh, I want social media, give me that discount." And then try and use me after and say, "Oh, I changed my mind," and not think about the money. Now, because in that contract, they know they're going to have to pay it back.
No, this is fascinating to me because I don't do any of that. So I'm just like learning. I love it.
But I only had 10% of people that used to let me share. And then I went through the stage where when I gave the discount, they would lie and take it back after. And then I would lose $50 and they would, so again, your contract is an adjustment of the trauma you have.
I could go on literally for days over all of this
Mm.
stuff before the shoot really even happens.
Well, look, I think planning phase is right too, because I don't know about you, but some people do a consultation call. Now, I don't personally do that, but if I was looking to up my experience and my business, that is something I would definitely consider adding.
Consultations are the best. I love it.
Now, my version of consultation as someone who does a lot of online. Now, the reason I am mostly doing everything online is I have 4 young kids. So, if you're at a different stage in your career where you have the time, I do recommend doing these things. So, for me, because I like to stay digital because I don't have the time, I just have a questionnaire, which is another form of communication. Again, I try and keep it very short. An interesting thing I do that maybe other people don't do, I don't ask them to tell me what they want. I will have a tick box of colors you don't want because that leaves me to be creative. So for the newborn shoot, for example, I say, what colors do you dislike and not want used? And people tick like red and purple and whatever, and that leaves me all the other colors to play with. And I do this because one, I'm not very picky. I want you, if I'm paying you, I want you to be creative, but there are some things I'm like, oh, I don't want to see that color. So I found it easier to add the ticker box for you to remove something. There is a section for them to write. So every once in a while, if someone has something like a novelty or something creative, whatever they want to do an inspo, they'll just write it down. But for like colors and maybe backdrops, you can do the other way around. Just keep that in mind. Especially mums that just had a baby that can't remember to feed themselves. Expecting them to know what they want is very difficult, but they will know what they don't want. And I know from my experience, I'll know immediately I don't want that. So if I have a ticker box and they'll say no red, no black, and then they're open to everything else, people like for you to kind of take charge. So I've never found I needed the consultation call because I like my clients to allow me to be in charge. I feel like that's a part of my experience is that you don't have to worry, I've got you. But there are people that really need to be spoken on the phone. I had a situation which really nearly went a bust. The session nearly got cancelled. I nearly refunded her. I nearly fired her because she was very neurotic.
Also in the contract cancellation terms.
Well, I don't even know what I have for my cancellation. I don't know if I have something like I can fire you at any time. And by the
I
way, I feel like,
do. I have
oh,
for what's it called? Personality differences.
no way. I never needed it. I'll just tell you to go
I've
somewhere else.
I've never had to, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's there just in case.
I have had to, but I nearly I nearly did this one time because she didn't trust me. And that's a major thing. And it was a simple thing. It was a baby's birthday, and she just the color scheme, she just couldn't trust. She wanted me to pull everything out of my studio and spend hours she wanted me to pre-set up the setup and then reset it up for the day. And I said no. I stood my ground and I said, I don't do that. You need to trust me. She's like, I don't know if you're gonna have the colors I want. And when I got on the phone, I thought like the right thing you should do if someone's kind of going back and forth and not being kind of calm and being kind of unsure is get on the phone. So I got on the phone and I actually seem to have made it worse. I was trying to calm her down where I was saying, look, these balloons in 25 years, when you look back at this photo, are not going to be your focus. The focus is going to be your beautiful daughter. And I'm going to put all the love and care into giving her the most beautiful photos. And the lighting's going to be great. Everything's going to be great. I've showed you the colors. I think in camera they're going to look different and you're going to love them. And I said that to her. When I hung up, I thought it went okay, but she's someone that kind of was so worried about it being perfect. She sent me a text after saying, I feel like you disregarded my feelings about the balloons. And I know if you think about it now, it's just balloons, but it meant something to her. So that kind of communication, like I nearly ruined that for her, that experience. And I didn't mean it. I thought I was calming her down because sometimes I get on the phone with a mom and they're worried about the smallest thing, and I just say, it's all good. I'll do this for you. I've got you. And that's enough. But for her, that wasn't enough. She wanted to be recognized that I'll give her exactly what she wanted. And she didn't feel that same way. And I was at the point where I said, I don't think I can help you. And I want to, but I don't think I can because I've showed her like 50 colors and she wasn't happy. In the end, she did want my photography and she trusted in me delivering the photos. She went to a balloon artist and got the balloon color she wanted because she couldn't let go of that like fear that I wasn't going to get it right. So look, it worked out in the end. I thought I was reassuring her, but I might have stuffed it up. I was very close. We were very close to butting heads. So for me, what I had to do was offer her the chance to be let out of her contract. So I don't do it aggressively. I'm lucky she stayed, but I just worded it with, look, I will deliver and the promise is to you, I will give you the best photos. I have the colors I've shown you, but if they don't satisfy you, I do recommend you go to a balloon artist. And that's what I gave her, another option, but it wasn't aggressive. So think about this. You need to solve your client's problem without shutting the communication down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like anything. Like people want to feel like they're being heard and felt and seen and understood. And then also I think it needs to stay positive in any form of communication, to be honest. Like you don't want to start blaming them for anything. Like even if it is their fault, like it's only going to make it worse. You can't blame. Yeah, it's going to go down a really bad path. And then just stay solution oriented. Give them solutions immediately. Okay, I hear what you're saying. That's great. Da 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 da. Okay, so here's option A, B, or C to solve this problem. And they'll usually pick A. Like they'll be fine with it. And then they're happy and then you move on. Go ahead. Sorry.
And something that you feel is irrational, maybe, or you think it doesn't matter, it might matter to someone else. And you need to recognize that and be understanding. And there's a level of compassion that you need to have that you might not get it, but you also don't know what's going on in that person's life. You don't know what that represents for them. So you need to have compassion, definitely.
Yeah. A specific color red could, bring back some trauma from watching it or Killer Clowns from Outer Space, my own childhood trauma from when they were little. So, I mean, they cannot have this color red and it's super important to them. So again, this goes back to communication before your shoot and making sure you get those sort of details right, which you can do, like you said, through a questionnaire, a phone call. I personally do a phone call. That's the initial outreach along with email. And then it goes to a consultation, which is either in person or on Zoom, depending on what is most convenient. I feel like they both work equally well. I actually prefer Zooms now. So it's much easier for me and I don't have to drive, but we still get to go over everything. And the reason it works for me is because I get to know the client, first of all, which makes them immediately more comfortable when they get in front of the camera in the studio or even outside. But second, we get to do all the fun stuff together. Like we get to plan and go through the colors, and I give them options for hair and makeup because I take care of all of that. And we talk about wardrobe and what their style is, or if maybe they don't know what their style is, right? So I help them through that. And then through this, I've also learned organically, I ask them as well, but I learn organically what's important to them. Just by the tone of their voice, I can tell what is a hard pass, a hard no, and what is super important to them and what gets them excited. So that helps me steer their session towards that. And then, of course, I also ask these things as well, like what's the most important thing to you? If there's only one photo you don't want me to miss, what is that? Et cetera, et cetera. And then before their session, there's also a questionnaire that they fill out. So I get those kinds of things. I learn about their insecurities, things that they might want to emphasize or minimize in their photos and things like that. So for me, that's the biggest part of my communication. It comes before the session, and then it's pretty organic during the session. And I'll help them flow through poses and reassure them and help them feel confident and be their biggest cheerleader. And we'll tell stories and I'll get to know them and make them feel seen and heard. And again, it goes back to people just wanting to, feel seen and understood and or related to, and got to know them so well before their session that during it, it just feels like we're friends. It's very organic, still professional, but very friendly. And then after the shoot, I keep all of that up. I send them thank you afterwards. I get them excited about editing them and getting them into their ordering/reveal appointment and getting them excited for that, as well as all of the updates that come after that. So where I am with their editing and if I have any questions about their editing, because I retouch everything and I want to make sure that everything's absolutely perfect for them. Still, I'm communicating. I'm not leaving them to guess. They're going to know exactly when their photos are ready. I follow up with them afterwards, even when I've done gallery deliveries in the past and when I still do them for courthouse weddings. One thing I hear people on Facebook and other places all the time talking about, what do you do when a client doesn't respond back ever after receiving a gallery? And I think to myself, that never happens to me. And the reason is I've got all these touch points. I built a relationship with them. I get them excited about their session, and then they're excited to be excited with me and they respond to that. And if there is an issue, they let me know. And I'm like, sure thing, I'm going to go in and fix that for you. And I've already charged appropriately. So for me to go in and fix one thing is not a big deal. I don't have these sort of ghosting things. It's super, super rare. And it's because I built that relationship. So I think you just have to keep up the communication. And I will leave with this. I think one of the biggest things, like, I'm worried about bothering them too much. One thing I've learned over the years, you almost, I don't want to say completely, but you almost can't bother your client too much. And I say that very sparingly, but also because they want to know. They want to know where they are, how many days out or how exciting this is. They want to know where you are in the process. And, is there products in? And how are you almost done with their editing? Do you have any questions? Like, they want to know. They're excited. You don't want to have 25,000 messages in a day. You don't want to have necessarily 5 messages in a day. But what you do want to have is you can send them a message for that day. You can send them another message the next day. That's totally fine. It's not too much. We've talked a lot about client communication, setting boundaries with timelines, deliverables. I do want to go ahead and add, when it talks about timelines, the easiest way to get people messaging you, when are my photos going to be ready? When will they be ready? When will they be ready? It can wear you down. Don't say soon. Don't say next week. Just give them a day and a time of the day that is way past what you think it will be, and then deliver early. It's that simple, and it's going to stop all of your problems. Maybe not all of them, but 99% of your problems. Soon is super vague. Don't be vague. Just give them a day and a time. You don't have to explain yourself. Just give them that and you'll be good. So we've talked about setting boundaries, timelines. I talked about deliverables. One of the next things that I do want to talk about before we wrap this show up is what happens when a client doesn't show up. What do? They just don't show up to a session. This goes back to client communication. So if you're doing everything right, this shouldn't happen to you. But I do want to go deeper into this. How to avoid this from even happening in the first place is number one. And then what to do if it does happen, because it's probably going to happen to most photographers at some point. So we're going to go more in depth with this. So we're going to go more into depth about this, not only on an Instagram live that I'm planning for you, but also in a future session. And I think it's really important to understand how to avoid these problems in the first place. And it really is easy to avoid if you know how to do it. So I'm going to share those things with you. And then also things like missed emails. Like, I know everyone is really scared to just hop on a phone call, but that's going to be the best way to prevent miscommunications and details that aren't ever read in, details that need to be discussed that they never see in an email. So one way I know if they've even seen the email is because my CRM keeps track of whether someone's opened an email, etc. So I know whether they've seen it or not. Even if they've seen it doesn't mean that they've read it necessarily. So I always put something in the bottom, a call to action, like, please let me know that you've received this email. If it's something super important, I may end up, if I have permission, texting them, hey, I just want to make sure you got the email that I sent today at 2 p.m. And I might even hop on a call if it's super urgent and I need to leave them a voice note or just a voicemail. So it really just depends on what form of communication my client prefers, and I'll go that route. But yeah, again, it's just be proactive, communicate with your clients. You're going to solve a lot of problems before they ever even become a problem, just with open and understanding communication. So yeah, I think we've had a really great podcast today, episode number 4 about client communication. And I want to hear, what is your horror story? The worst thing that's happened from a client. I've heard quite a few over the years, so I think it's going to be hard to top some of the worst that I've ever heard, but I do want to hear some of the worst that's ever happened to you, client stories. And then also I want to hear some of the best things that's ever happened. So I've had some really amazing stories. I've shared those before with my clients, but I want to hear from you guys. So I would love to read through, throw some comments down there for us to look at and for everyone so they can read and so you can share with them as well. And make sure, like, subscribe. We are on Substack, which is amazing, by the way. Please join our email list, which will keep you up to date on everything, as well as follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and subscribe on YouTube for us. So you can definitely listen to us anytime on Spotify. There's no excuse. We make it so easy for you guys. And coming soon is Apple Podcasts as soon as we get approved. So we're looking forward to growing this community with you guys. And I'm super excited. And let us know what other topics you would like. We are literally just scratching the surface here on photography. So I'm super excited. Please join our Q&A sessions where you can get more personalized answers. We have literally gone through everything. So we've been non-IPS, we've been IPS, we've been shooting for free, shooting for money, all sorts of things. We've been through it and we want to help you. So I want you guys have a great night, have a great day wherever you are in this world. Please have a beautiful week, and we will see you next week and talk to you soon. Bye.